And at the heart of building any venture is the culture of the team and the culture of the organization. And at the heart of any culture is the mindset. So we recognize that the best ventures are ventures that have the right mindset. And if we could design the right mindset, then we can design even better ventures, even better societies.
Hello and welcome to the Outlook on your award-winning online channel, Click Naija, where we explore ideas shaping a better and more intentional society. My name is Elizabeth Ereke, your host. Today, we are focusing on something close to all our hearts, and that is mental health. The theme for the 2025 Mental Health Day is Healthy Beginning, Hopeful Futures. Joining me are two special guests from the Akanka team, the minds behind an inspiring initiative called the Framework of Intention Radio Clips, designed to make us pause, reflect, and care for our mental wellness in just a few seconds a day. Chine and Chuba, Ezekwesili. You're welcome to the Outlook on Click Naija.
Thank you.
The thank you sounded like one voice. By the way, they are twins, identical. I don't need to tell you that. Do well to follow us on all our social media handles. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Click Naija1. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Click Naija. Visit us on our website on www.clicknaija.gov.ng and search for us on Radio Garden at Click Naija to listen and follow us live on all our programs. Now you have created a framework to create awareness to people on their mental well-being. What inspired the framework and why this approach? So Chine.
Okay, so the first question was what inspired the framework?
Yeah.
Right? Nature inspired the framework. Nature did. I think during the lockdown period, Chuba and I spent every single day gardening. And we were gardening because we wanted to transform the walkway of our studio from pure concrete to what we refer to as a Garden of Eden. It's really a botanical garden. And in the process of gardening every single day, it showed us the process through which nature actually creates. And we observed that when we practiced that process, or that framework, it actually helped a lot in terms of everything from communication to our mental health to the way we create and collaborate. It was just expansive in its ability to help us make better decisions.
Okay.
So yes, I would add that everything that he said. I think at the heart of it is just mindset. We run a venture studio, and what that means is that we build ventures. And at the heart of building any venture is the culture of the team and the culture of the organization. And at the heart of any culture is the mindset. So we recognize that the best ventures are ventures that have the right mindset. And if we could design the right mindset, then we can design even better ventures, even better societies at scale.
So I'm finding this idea very, very fascinating. I would want you to explain more on how the framework translates into these short radio clips that you have created.
I suppose for us to talk about that, we first of all have to talk about the framework.
That's why I said you should explain.
Yes, so Chine can, I think we'll just take it one at a time. Chine can talk about slow down and then we can talk about
So the framework has 3 steps. And the first step of the framework is to slow down. And so that's slow down. And slow down to breathe, slow down to reflect, slow down to think, slow down to act, slow down to do everything that we're doing. We find that when we slow down, it becomes, you make more intentional decisions when you're slowing down. And then the second step is to give gratitude. And you find that it pretty much means being in the state of gratitude. So expressing gratitude for life and expressing gratitude for others and expressing gratitude to others as well is significantly important to
to nurturing an abundance mindset. So for people who struggle with their mental health, just being in a state of gratitude has been scientifically proven to help us feel significantly better.
Okay, so some of the clips that we've seen are like a 15 to 30 second long, right? How can you tell me that something as short as this will make a really, really great impact on whoever is listening to it?
It's a great question.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of times we believe that things have to be complex to actually have a profound effect on us, when as a matter of fact it just takes a couple of seconds and just a simple action for you to alter the way your mind actually works.
Okay, so I find it interesting that some of these clips we're talking about are just 15 to 30 seconds long. How can something so short make a real impact?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think that we often have a misconception that things that are short do not have impact, but the reality is that all it requires for us to fix something that is important to us is just a couple of seconds of making the right decision. So I think that's a good question. I think a lot of times we have a misconception that things need to be long in order for it to be effective, when the reality is that all it requires is a couple of seconds of making the right decision to effectively put our mental health in the right state of mind. I think in this case, those clips are essentially suggesting that we taking a deep breath, for example, and just taking a deep breath for a couple of seconds is effective in order to restore us to a right state of mind. We do not need 50 minutes, we just need a couple of seconds. And once you can just breathe in for a couple of seconds, we're effectively able to regain our mental sanity and we're able to make better decisions.
Yes. Let's also remember, right, that the clips are not all in one, asking us to do things for 15 seconds. The clips are suggestions. So for example, the clip can say, write down, did you know that gratitude is one way of improving your mental health? So write down 3 things you're grateful for. It might not take you 15 seconds. It might take you a minute to write it down. But just the act of slowing down to write those things you're grateful for down will certainly help your mental state than if you didn't write it down.
That is to say, you're talking about being very, very intentional about things that you do, right? When it comes to your mental health. What does that really mean in everyday life? To slow down and become more intentional in what you do.
It means, first of all, being intentional about how you think. From the way you think to the way you talk and act. It means being intentional about everything. So it's in this conversation, let's take this conversation as an example. In this instance of this conversation, we're slowing down to listen to your question. Mm-hmm. If we weren't slowing down to listen to your question, we'll be answering a whole different question entirely, right? We're giving gratitude for what it is that you've said. Mm-hmm. We're thankful for the questions that you've asked. If not, we probably would be saying, I don't like that question. You should ask me a different question.
And that's bringing us to mental health.
Exactly. And then we're taking responsibility for responding to your question in the right way.
Okay, so now, if you agree with me, Nigeria is facing a rise when it comes to mental health challenge based on happenings around us. What gap did you notice? Is it because of this you got inspired to do this project?
Yeah, I think that Nigeria has been facing a mental health challenge for a long time. I think we've just not recognized it as deeply till now. I think that a lot of our project was initially based on creating and solving solutions for ourselves and also for the companies that we're creating. But eventually we came to realize that the framework actually is a lot more expansive than just for ourselves, for the companies that we're creating. It's for everyone. And the one thing that we've also seen is just the rise in the mental health challenges over time, because we've seen that Nigerians are not slowing down enough. to make decisions. We've seen that we're not given enough gratitude. We're always complaining as people. I mean, there are things to complain about, but when we spend all our time complaining, then that's a problem. And we've also seen that we're not taking responsibility as well for the things that we're complaining about. And so over time, that actually accumulates into what it is that we're seeing now in Nigeria, which is an epidemic of suicides and people actually just being mentally unstable.
Yeah, okay. So I want to believe that this is a long-term project, it's a long-term vision, right?
Yeah.
What do you intend to gain in collaborating with Click Naija as per putting out your work out there to the people?
Well, our vision really is a more intentional world. And the only way to create a more intentional world is when more people are aware of how it is that they can be intentional. And also being aware that it's the very little things that they can do. Again, the reason why these things are so simple, the reason why it's so simple is so that it's accessible to anyone and everyone. It's not only the rich man that has the ability to have a great mental health. Everyone should have that. So for us, this collaboration, what it means for us is that every single day, people are being reminded to slow down and at least take a breath. Just take a deep breath, irrespective of what's going on. If every day they're being reminded to give gratitude, to just say, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for to God for? To my family for? To myself for? To others around me for? If only they're doing that just a little bit every day. And if only they can be reminded to say, what can I take responsibility for? What is within my control? And if they can be reminded to do that every single day, I really truly believe that, we really truly believe that we can make a big difference in changing the mental health of people over time.
One step at a time, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now off mic, you said this framework has been used by schools and organizations internationally. How do you see it fitting into our own local context here?
Okay. I think for starters, it already started from our own local context there before we started using it internationally or for anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, the first people who we prototyped the framework with was actually ourselves. People assume that as twins, your communication is going to be great, but you see, the framework actually helped make our communication and our relationship better. And then we took the framework to our family, and we found that it helped us actually create greater bonds, resolve issues a lot faster. And then we began to take it to our community, and then we saw that it also works. So just testimonials after testimonials showed its effectiveness. So it's already localized. It already works locally. It's just now the goal is to, especially as he just answered, we Click Naija, spread it more locally, so more people actually are aware of the steps that we can take in order to enhance our mental health.
And also, just to add to what he's talked about, beyond the family, we've then also taken it to, say, for example, SPPG. SPPG is a school of politics, policy, and governance. And SPPG, first of all, started by training Nigerian leaders. Those Nigerian leaders already have awareness of the framework because we teach them a number of classes with the SPPG students, and we teach them the framework to help them become better leaders. Better leaders are leaders who are intentional. Intentional leaders are leaders who can slow down to think strategically, who can slow down to formulate a vision, who can give gratitude for their team, and then who can take responsibility for moving the vision forward. So we're already practicalizing it, as he said, in Nigeria. We're just taking that and scaling it externally.
All right. Great. So what kind of feedback are you hoping to get once your clips start airing on Click Naija online channel?
Oh my God, this helped my mind.
Yeah.
The mental health feels better now.
The kind that we're actually already getting.
Yeah.
We receive just messages from different people who say, wow, it sounded so simple when you said this to me, but I started practicing it every day. I ran into an SPPG student who talked about how practicing the framework has helped her relationship with her children. Where before anytime they do something, she would just shout at them, and she would shout and she would shout and she'd be angry. And how now she just stops and says, let me slow down. And then she just pauses and she breathes for a few seconds. And the way she responds to them is different. And she says how, like, she was testifying how the way they also respond to her is also different, because she's no longer doing it out of a place of violence and just of anger.
A lot of mothers actually would need, I for one, I think I would love to hear your clip so that it will help me slow down and do certain things, because, you know, children can be. So we can put it to the edge. All right, so as we celebrate 2025 World Health Day, do you have any specific message or theme that you're focusing on as a Akanka team?
We say at the team that everything begins
from within.
Everything begins from within. So if from within you have a healthy beginning, then you are certain to have a
hopeful future.
So you are going with the UN's theme for the year?
Why not?
Nothing special or nothing different. Let me use that. Nothing different from the Akanka team.
I think that the framework is already the difference.
Okay.
I think that the framework is how to actually ensure that one has a healthy beginning.
Yes.
Because as I said, healthy beginnings begin from within. And if from within as an individual, you can actually just slow down a lot more and start from a greater place of gratitude, even for yourself and for others around you and for everything, and then take a greater level of responsibility, then without a doubt, you have a hopeful future.
All right, we're gradually coming to the end of the Outlook today, but before we pack our bag and ourselves out of the studio, I would want to ask your personal message to Nigerians as we celebrate World Health Day 2020.
I would say it is, being a Nigerian now in Nigeria is extremely difficult, and it's understandable why we struggle with our mental health. And I would say that we shouldn't lose hope. You know, we shouldn't lose hope, and we should do as much as we can to prioritize our mental health. It's important that we do so, because everything begins from the mind. And again, just that reminder for us to find the pockets of time to slow down, even when it can be difficult, even when it can feel very difficult to do so, to slow down. But more than anything else, as my brother said earlier, the importance of giving gratitude is incredibly essential to our mental health. So let's take the time to ask ourselves, what are we grateful for today? There's always, as long as we're alive, there is something to be grateful for. So let's ask ourselves, what is this that we can be grateful for? And then, of course, finally, how can we take responsibility? What, as Nigerians, can we take responsibility for? What's the future we want to see as a country, for our society? And how can we take responsibility for it? What's that one thing that we can do today that will help improve our lives and the lives of others around us? And if we can ask ourselves that question and answer that question and put it into effect, we are certain to see some progress.
And Chine says, bam! So what are you grateful for, and what are you ready to own responsibility for to make Nigeria and the society a better and more peaceful place for you and I? And with this, we call it a wrap on today's segment of The Outlook. Thank you very much, Chine and Chuba, for joining me and for this beautiful initiative you've come to share with us. To our viewers, remember, sometimes the smallest pause can make the biggest difference. Take a breath, slow down, give gratitude, take responsibility, and be intentional about your mental health. This has been The Outlook on the award-winning online channel, Click Naija. Thank you to my producers, Rotimi Martins, Jacinta Osage, and Folashade Akinola, under the supervision of Ehi Ohiani. Until I come your way next time, I am Elizabeth Ereke. It's bye.